Hello Year 6 and welcome to today's English lesson. Now, for English today we are going to be continuing to look at the story of Macbeth and we're going to read a little bit more of it. And then your main task is you're going to be writing a persuasive letter, as if you are Macbeth. Okay, so we're going to realise that there's some events that's going to happen in the story today, and then you're going to be writing to somebody else, the Lord of Lasmahago. Okay, so let's get into the text and then I'll explain more about what we're doing. Here we go. So like I said, we are going to be carrying on reading Macbeth, and it is originally by Shakespeare, but we are reading a retelling of it by Andrew Matthews. Now, your task, just before I start reading what it is that you're going to do. Like I said, you're going to be writing in the role of Macbeth, asking the Lord of Lasmahago, who's another Scottish general and kind of has an army, to come and support him and to join forces with him. Okay, you'll understand why that needs to happen in a minute. So, let's get in to the text. Last time we read, Macbeth had become king. He'd also known that the witches had told Banquo that his sons will become king, so he didn't want that to happen. So he wanted them dead. So he hired some people to kill Banquo, and he also hired them to kill his son. But his son got away, and when he went back into this party, he saw this like hooded figure sat on his chair. And it was a ghost, okay, because no one else could see it. And he's gone off, and like his wife was, my husband's not very well, he'll be himself soon. And he was like, no, I won't, I will never be myself, not until Banquo and his children are dead. And he's kind of said, only the witches can set me free. So let's continue from here. The witches were seated in a huddle around the fire, over which a cauldron bubbled. In the sky above their heads a full moon sailed, casting silver light over the battlefield, still littered with unburied corpses. The blind witch held up her crystal. Deep inside, a tiny horse and rider galloped wildly through the night. "He comes," she cackled. "The spell is still strong." And Macbeth came out of the moonlight, his horse's flanks white with lathered sweat. He climbed from the saddle and was about to speak when the hook-nosed witch called out, "The king wishes to know the future." "It is not for the faint-hearted," warned the bearded witch. "I have courage enough," Macbeth growled. The blind witch dipped a wooden cup into the cauldron and held it out. "Drink," she said. Macbeth took the cup and lifted it to his lips, shuddering as he swallowed. Fire and ice and the light of the moon burned in his brain. The blind witch's face melted like the edge of a cloud and became the face of Duncan, his silver hair dark with blood. "Beware Macbeth, the Thane of Fife," Duncan said, and then he changed into Banquo. "No man born of a woman can harm you," Banquo said. "You will rule until Birnam Wood walks to Dunsnane." "Then I am safe," cried Macbeth. "No one can stop me." And he was alone. The witches, their cauldron, and the fire had vanished. Quick pause. So he thinks he's safe because it said that no man born of a woman can harm you. And obviously he thinks everyone's born of a woman. And it also says, you will rule until Birnam Wood walks to Dunsnane. And he thinks, well, the wood's not going to start walking. So he thinks he's safe. Let's continue. It was the start of a fearful time. On his return to Dunsnane, Macbeth ordered that Macduff be arrested. When he heard that Macduff had fled to England to join Malcolm, Macbeth had Macduff's castle burned and his wife and his children put to death. From then on, anyone who questioned the king's commands, no matter how harsh or unjust those commands might be, they were executed. The gap between Macbeth and his wife grew wider. The guilty secret of Duncan's murder gnawed at Lady Macbeth's mind like a maggot inside an apple. She felt ill and began to walk in her sleep, dreaming that she and Macbeth were still covered with Duncan's blood. "Out, damn stain," she croaked. "Will nothing make me clean?" Doctors could do nothing for her, and she grew weaker every single day. Then at last, hope came to Macbeth's suffering subjects. Malcolm had raised an army in England, and with Macduff at his side, he marched his troops into Scotland. There the army was greeted by cheering crowds who longed to be freed from the tyrant Macbeth. First, Glamis Castle was captured and burned, and then Malcolm's forces marched on to Dunsinane. But to the despair of Macbeth's generals, he did nothing. And we're going to stop there. So, in summary, during that section, Macbeth has found out from the witches that he will rule until a wood starts walking, which he doesn't think is going to happen. And also that no one who is born of a woman can kill him. So he thinks he's safe because everyone's born of a woman. Now, Macduff and Malcolm have raised this army and they're coming to fight Macbeth. Macbeth hasn't got many troops left. So we are going to imagine that he is writing to an old friend of his called the Lord of Lasmahaga. And we are going to imagine that he's writing a letter to him to try and convince him to come and help him. So that Lord of Lasmahaga will bring all of his forces to come and help him fight. And what we are going to do is, what I'm looking for is, sorry, just getting it up on the page in front of me, is I want you to include the following things. So a clear introduction. I want you to use language appropriate to like the words that Shakespeare would use. So in the information page, the second page has got loads of ideas. I want you to think of different ways to structure your sentences. So you might start with something in adverbials. You might include some relative clauses. You might start with some causal openers. And then finally, I want you to use a range of punctuation. So what I'm going to do now is go into my hand and show you how I'd maybe start this letter. Okay, let's go. Okay, so the success criteria is going to be down in here. That will hopefully give you some ideas of what it is that we are needing to try and include. So, we are Macbeth. We are writing to the Lord of Lasmahaga to try and convince him to come to our aid. So I'm going to start it with my introduction. So, dearest Lord of Lasmahaga, I hope this letter finds you well. And I sincerely apologise. I'm not convinced sincerely spelled right there. I think it is. Sincerely apologise for my lack of contact over the past few years. Now I'm just going to have the little text thing up next to me so I can see if there's any ideas that I can steal any vocabulary. So in the success criteria, I'm still trying to start with lots of different ways of sentences. I hope this letter finds you well, and I sincerely apologise for my lack of contact over the past few years. However, starting with the causal, I have had good reason for this. The betrayal of the vile and murderous Macduff has left me bitterly lonely and what's the word I'm looking for? Bitterly lonely and susceptible. How do I spell that? But that is a great word. Okay, so susceptible means like you kind of susceptible. Definitely not like that. Susceptible. And susceptible to defeat. Okay, so I've explained that I'm in trouble. Sorry, I'm writing all over the place. Now I need to explain that I quickly need his help. I'm hoping or desiring that you, my loyal and faithful friend, will come to my aid in my most let me have a look at the text. In my most grave and heavy hour. Okay, then I would go on to write to include reasons why he needs to come and help me, okay? It could be more, give him some other reasons. Right, quickly going back to my face. And that year 6 is your task for today. So make sure you use the success criteria, make sure you follow my example, and yeah, let's see some great persuasive letters. So we are trying to persuade somebody, we are trying to convince somebody to do something. Okay, I will see you in the next exciting English lesson. Goodbye.